So my name is Hannah Meiton. I'm a co-founder and partner at Ampli Ventures. That is a SaaS B2B investor at seed and Series A. We're based in the Nordics, so we're focused on Nordic SaaS companies. And prior to launching Ampli, I have been in the SaaS world all my life, working on the commercial side, half of my career in the States, so working on software companies there, growing them from about 100K US dollars ARR up to $10-20 million. And then 10 years ago, I moved to Stockholm and I was working as a VP of sales at iZettle. After that, as a CCO at Soundtrack Your Brand, which is another SaaS company. And I sit on a few boards as well. So I think overall, it's becoming more and more commoditized to kind of have your own eShop. The growth of the likes of Shopify and other platforms has made it really easy for anyone to open up an eShop and create your own brand. And that is a challenge in itself, because obviously that space is becoming extremely cluttered, so you need to stand out. And what that entails, really meaning that if you're starting a shop today or a brand today, you need to be really focused on who's your customers, what kind of brand is you, and what kind of products are you trying to pursue. And you need to make sure that that is communicated all through your kind of online presence. So I think what we're seeing is a trend towards more D2C brands with unique profiles and unique DNAs are really growing and becoming challengers to the likes of Zalando's and other big e-commerce that are kind of everything for everyone, with the risk of becoming nothing to know for no one. With the rise of and I guess with the increase of lots of different e-shops, it's becoming more and more challenging to stick out. It's becoming also challenging for consumers to find new providers. And I think there's kind of two customers' behavior there. Either you become extremely loyal to a few brands where you constantly return and you come back. And likelihood, if you've had a really good experience, is that you become more and more loyal. So that's another trend, right? Focus really on the customer focus and focus on the customer experience. Or you become extremely kind of test and non-loyal. So you're constantly shopping around and you're constantly trying new brands, new products, and so on. And I think you need to kind of build out experiences for both. But if I were starting a brand right now, and if I were starting an e-commerce business at the moment, I would overinvest in customer experience. I would really make sure that I spent a lot of time and effort into making sure that I follow the customer post-sales. Make sure that they really get the product as soon as possible. Follow up, ask them how they rate the product. Ask them how happy we're. Suggest new products to them. And really try to become that BFF from the get-go, as opposed to having the anonymous e-commerce customer experience that has been the same in the last 10, 20, 30 years ago. So I think it really goes back to the fact that we're seeing a huge influx of new brands and new, especially from the D2C side, where anyone that has kind of a great product or a great idea can start a brand today. Why should you as a consumer go to a page such as Zalando that is in my opinion is like a really cluttered big warehouse? You get really disoriented. I don't really know if the brands that I'm looking for are there, and if they are, do they have the entire collections, or can I only see a small space of it? Whilst if I'm actively looking for something, I rather want to go to the source. I rather want to go to the brand itself, look at their Instagram page, kind of look around. Is this in line with my kind of look and feel, and is this in line with my values? So I think Zalando's future position will be more around really who can provide the lowest cost on the same kind of product. So if I have identified a product, if I then find it at a cheaper at Zalando, I will perhaps buy it there, as well as potentially the quickest way to actually get to the customer. So that's how they will stand out. But in my mind, they're just a gateway. I don't see them as a brand itself, but I see them only as kind of a big warehouse where you can find everything. And I think the consumers of tomorrow's are really looking for a more of a deeper meaning on how they can really find brands and outlets where they can build a lifelong commitment to them, and have recommendations and not just have a quick stop shop. So I think if you're running a traditional e-commerce today, you've built your website and you built up essentially a customer sales process where you go out and advertise your brand, and you try every customers to come to your site. We're seeing paid advertising such as Google and Facebook are really increasing in price. It's becoming more and more expensive. It's also becoming more and more competition because you have more brands out there, more e-commerce sites and so on. So the whole kind of idea of kind of going out and finding customers on the platforms that they want to be, and then try to convey them to coming to your site, is kind of an endless CPR exercise where you can never really win, right? So I think you kind of have to switch, and you have to stop thinking about your site as where the customers needs to come, but you instead need to kind of create a streamable experience where you can really go out and present your products where the customers are on the platforms they want to be, right? On the Instagrams, on WhatsApp, on Facebook. And you need to enable them to actually complete their purchase right then and there. And you need to really make sure that the data that you can actually get from the customers, you're using that to creating much more personal experiences. So I always use this as an example, and with the risk of throwing a brand under the bus, but H&M, one of the biggest, best brand in the world, still when I go to their site, even if I'm logged in and I'm a faithful, customers of theirs, they know exactly what I've purchased from them in the past. The first question I get is, what country are you from? And then secondly, they display to me men's clothes in XL. I've never bought anything in men's in XL, right? So to me, they're really treating me as an anonymous person every time I visit them, which is quite the opposite of the customer experience you want to create if you're a loyal member that have spent years and lots of money with this brand, right? So flipping that around, so I would say, summarizing, make sure that you are where your customers are on their platforms that they want to use, whether it's Messenger, WhatsApp, Instagram. Make sure that you're really utilizing the data that the customers have told you about themselves to create more seamless, personalized experiences, and allow them to check out on the platform and not create a really kind of awkward experience where they have to go to your site and then again kind of go through the customer journey of finding the garment that they saw on an ad or on a communication. So I think the future is really creating more streamified experiences, more social, and also more one-to-one. You want to create that where you walk into a store and you have this amazing person that says, oh my God, I have the perfect thing for you. And they bring that out to you and you realize it's something that you would never have discovered yourself. How can we create that in e-commerce as opposed to the anonymous, really quite nonchalant experiences that we've had in the last 20-30 years? I think that we've seen the rise of influencer marketing over the last few years, and it's still done on a very kind of basic level. And I think that brands are still thinking, what's the most I can get out of my investments, more from a campaign point of view. So most of the influencer marketing, or most of the brands that we were talking, they're kind of competing for the same type of influencers that are working with everyone. So we have and you look for who are the influencers with the top followers on Instagram or on TikTok, for example. Let's contact them. And then you're kind of losing the whole kind of essence of influencer marketing, which is create really credible content with the likes of your users and consumers and fans. So if you're approaching an influencer with millions of followers who have never really used your product or brand, why are you going to pay them to say something that might not necessarily resonate with their core DNA? And why should your potential customers then find it credible enough? And I think a lot of ways it kind of actually backfires, and it creates a lack of faith in your brand, because we're seeing these influencers every week kind of really promoting new brands. So I'm a strong believer in the micro kind of, or nano is what you mentioned. And the challenge here is for brands is to how do you do that at scale? What kind of platform do we use? And this is a question I constantly get from founders. What kind of platforms should we use to reach out and have 1,000 influencers on TikTok create content on us? And I know there's a few different brands out there trying to achieve this, but there yet to be someone that really does it well. And I would love to see a platform kind of really owning that space, because I think that what influencer marketing has been up until now, and what it will be going forward, is going from a few very core Instagrammers or TikTokers with millions of followers to really credible smaller, I should say, influencers who are already using your brands and who are really loving your brand, loving the products, and would love to talk about it, and would love to create even more credible content around it that users can actually relate more to. I look forward to kind of see that vibe, because me as a consumer, I would rather buy something from someone who has 500 followers on Instagram whom I'm already following, because we share the same style or identity, and they're promoting a product that I might or might not have heard of.